Oh boy, did I have a smashing month. Hey Book Dragons, glad you made it back. Today we got my monthly update, and wow, what an update it is going to be. Before we get to it, please make sure to like, subscribe, join my Discord, join my Patreon if you want to support me there too. That's awesome. Let's get right to this update because I've got a lot of stuff to talk to you about, starting with what I read in April. I read 12 books in April and I started a 13th book. This was just a crazy month for me. Now granted, some of the books were shorter, so that helped speed up my reading for the month, but that's the most I have ever read in a month. So let's go ahead and get talking about what I read in April. And I'm going to start with an honorable mention because I can't really show that I read these on Goodreads, so it doesn't count toward my reading goal technically, but I read some zines by my good friend Adam W. Rodriguez. If you want to check out his channel, I'm going to leave it down below. I highly recommend you do check out his channel. And he does the artwork in these himself. These are hand-drawn. These are original stories that he created using some of his own characters as well as public domain characters. So it's just really fantastic. He's a brilliant artist in more than one respect, not just the zines, but he does regular artwork as well. He talks about books on his channels. He does speed art. You really need to check him out, and he deserves this honorable mention. I sat down and read all these in the space of a day, and they're so good. So make sure that you check him out. Set those right there. And now let's go ahead and get to talking about the books that do count toward my reading goal that I read in April. Starting with Peace Talks, Battleground, and The Law. So yes, I'm giving you all three of those books right up front because they are all part of the Dresden Files. Those are the last books to catch me up to date in the Dresden Files series. And oh my goodness, guys, I am so excited. By the time I got to the end, it just left me wanting more, and I am so excited to see what Jim Butcher has planned for this series next. If you want to watch the Gush Fest video that I did talking about my experience finishing Dresden, I'll leave that in the cards at the end of the video so you can check that out. So that's all I'm going to say about that, but I read those three books. I also read Secret Project Number 2 by Brandon Sanderson. This is his only non-Cosmere book that is part of his secret projects, and that is The Frugal Wizard's Handbook to Surviving Medieval England. It was okay. I had a good time reading it. I've read better. I did do a review for that as well, so if you want to check that out, card at the end of the video. You can click on it, watch to your heart's content, see what I liked, see what I didn't like, okay? And then I also read all three books currently released in the Dispatcher series by John Scalzi. This is The Dispatcher, Murder by Other Means, and Travel by Bullet. Guys, this is a phenomenal series. I highly recommend that you read it if you haven't. I listened to it on audio. It was an audio original before it got published in ebook and now physical format as well. But oh my goodness, I had just an absolute blast reading those. They're short, they're novellas. It takes 3 to 4 hours each to listen to each of the books. I can't say enough good about it. I really love it. So make sure that you check out that series. And I also did a review for those, so there won't be room in the cards at the end of the video for that, but I will leave the link in the description below so you can go down there and find it, click on it, watch it. That would be awesome. Maybe I can even find a way to put a clickable link here on the screen to it. We shall see. And then I also read The Farthest Shore. This is book 3 in the Earthsea saga by Ursula K. Le Guin. And I have to say, I think this might be my favorite of the Earthsea books so far. It is definitely the most quotable book in the Earthsea saga so far. I found myself clipping so many quotes, and I have this as a physical book, guys, so I kept having to take a picture of the quote and copy and paste the words from my picture over to a note so that I could keep track of all the quotes I loved in the book. So it's a rather tedious process, but it was so worth it, guys, because this book is just great. I love The Farthest Shore, and I can't wait to continue in the Earthsea saga. I also read Abaddon's Gate. That is book 3 in the Expanse series. I continue to love my time in the world of the Expanse. I just can't get enough of the writing, the story crafting, the characters. It is just a really amazing series, and I hope to keep continuing on with it. Who knows? I may just get to a point where, like with Dresden, I just decide to read one a month until I'm done with the series. And I keep being impressed with how closely they adapted the TV show, because I have watched the first 5 seasons of the TV show, and you know, it's like bang, bang, bang. They keep making quality adaptations of these books. Yeah, they change a few things. I noticed quite a few things that were changed in the TV show when I was reading the book, but they did a pretty good job, I have to say. I also read More Than a Vampire by J.R. Carroll. J.R. is a booktuber as well. I'll leave a link to his channel down in the description below. But this is his first self-published novel. And as you can see, guys, the covers are really cool looking. And I've really been wanting to read the book, so I finally did, and it was okay. There were things that I didn't totally click with about the novel. There were things that I thought were really unique and different in a good way. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to reading some of his other books in the series and seeing where they go. And then I had more time left at the end of the month, so I read Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. I've never read Peter Pan before. Of course, I've seen the Disney movie and I've seen other movie adaptations of it, but I never read the book. I'm glad I did. It was okay. It wasn't mind-blowing. There were quite a few things in the book that were just off-the-wall weird, but I'm like, okay, that's an interesting way to put that, and interesting choice for the story, but it was good, and I'm glad I read it. And the next book is not a book that I started in April. It's a book I started several months ago, and that is The Stand by Stephen King. I read the audiobook, and it took me several months, and I finally decided, you know what, I only got a few hours left. I'm just going to sit down over the course of a couple of days and just binge the rest of it, and I did, and I'm glad I did. The Stand wasn't great for me overall. I did really like the ending. There were other parts of it I liked as well, but overall, it wasn't a great experience, and I've kind of discovered that for me, Stephen King's longer books don't really work. And I will be doing a full review of The Stand here within the next couple of weeks, so be on the lookout for that. But I am glad I read it. It's been on my list of books that everybody says you must read if you're going to read Stephen King. So I did it, and yeah. And then I also started Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. This is the first book in the Hannibal Lecter series, and it is really, really good, guys. I'm a huge fan of Hannibal Lecter from the movies and the TV show Hannibal, and I kind of did it backwards. I watched those before I read the books, and yeah, I'm excited to see where this series goes. So that is my reading month for April. So many books that I read in April. So now we're going to talk about what I watched in April. My daughter and I and our good friend Ian finished watching the Velma series on HBO Max. This is kind of a prequel to Scooby-Doo. I thought it was quite fun. It's definitely an adult show. There's a lot of adult themes and humor. You can definitely tell it's made for fans of the original Scooby-Doo mysteries, as well as the older kids of those fans. It's easy to tell the audience it was made for, but it was a lot of fun. I had a great time. They poked fun at Scooby-Doo, and there were a lot of good twists to the show. I thought it was fun. I also started watching Sherlock Holmes with my daughter. This is the original Granada television series from the 90s, I believe it is, with Jeremy Brett in the role of Sherlock Holmes. And it's just absolutely fantastic, guys. I've watched it at least twice when I was younger. My daughter loves it too, and that makes me so happy to find things that I used to be interested in. Well, and I'm still interested in it, right? That my daughter is now interested in too. So it just makes me really happy. And then my partner and I started watching Downton Abbey together. This is a show that I've been wanting to watch for a long time, and I never got around to it. And she had watched it 2 or maybe 3 times already, and she's like, hey, you want to watch Downton Abbey? I'm like, sure, I'd love to watch Downton Abbey. So we started watching Downton Abbey, and I just absolutely love it, guys. I'm a sucker for period dramas around the Edwardian and Victorian eras, and I know it goes through other eras as well, but I'm just there for it. I'm absolutely loving it. Maggie Smith as Lady Grantham is just hilarious. Snarky, witty, just so much fun to watch on screen. I love Maggie Smith in pretty much everything I've seen her in. She's just brilliant, and I can't wait to see where this series goes. I'm totally invested. And then I had a guys' night with my good friend Ian, and he and I watched Nightmare Alley together. This stars Bradley Cooper as an up-and-coming grifter who starts out traveling with a carnival and then eventually breaks into his own act as a mentalist because he has a real knack for reading people, and he reads them so well that he can make them believe that he can read their minds and know all about their intimate details. And so he's really got quite a knack for that, and it just kind of shows the rise and fall of his career over the course of the movie, and it's just an absolutely brilliant movie. I had such a great time watching it. And then, of course, I had an episode of Chaz and Friends in the month of April, and I got to talk with Jessie from The Bookish Mom. And if you have not watched that video yet, you really need to. Jessie is a fantastic person, a fantastic creator. We had such a great time talking. I'll leave her channel in the description below as well so that you can click and check her out. But I highly recommend you do so. It was a lot of fun. And I will have more Chaz and Friends episodes coming up in May, so stay tuned for that. Now let's move on to what I want to read in May. And this may or may not all happen because I've got a lot going on in May. My son is coming home for summer break, so I'll be driving up to help him move out of the dorms. And then we're going to be going on a trip for my daughter's birthday. Her birthday is May 4th, so she's a Star Wars Day baby. And then I've got some other potential travel plans in May. So it's kind of going to be all over the place in May, but I do have some tentative plans for books I want to read. And we're going to start with Postern of Fate. This is the final book in the Tommy and Tuppence Mysteries by Agatha Christie, and I'm buddy reading this with my friend Mona Lisa Reeds. We've been slowly working through this series together, and I can't wait to see how it ends. It's kind of new territory for me because I haven't read these books since I was a teenager or maybe even a little younger than that. And so I really don't remember much about this series at all. So I'm excited to read the final book, and we'll see how that goes. I'm also going to read Tahanu. This is the fourth book in the Earthsea saga by Ursula K. Le Guin, and I don't really know a whole lot about it. I have not read the blurb or anything like that for it. I'm going into it blind, and I can't wait to continue this series. It really is shaping up to be one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. And then the next book on this list is my patron pick for the quarter. One of my patrons, Kaiju8, won the patron spin wheel, and she picked Cunning Folk for me to read. And I've heard really good things about this book. I've seen it pop up on a few different creators' channels, and I just haven't read it yet. And so I'm excited to see how that goes, and I'm excited to talk about my experience afterward as well. The next book I'm hoping to read is Alloy of Law. This is the first book in Mistborn Era 2 by Brandon Sanderson. Yes, that's right, guys. I have not read Mistborn Era 2 yet, and I am about to remedy that. Everybody says, Chaz, you need to at least try Mistborn Era 2, and I've kind of been on the fence. I've heard good things, I've heard bad things, but at the end of the day, I just need to try it out and see what I think. I enjoyed the first Mistborn Era, so I might as well at least give this a shot, right? And then I also want to read Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I really feel like I need a good, cozy little fantasy in my life, and I've heard that Legends and Lattes definitely fits the bill. So I'm looking forward to reading it and seeing what I think. And then I'm also going to read the first book in the Great Cities duology by N.K. Jemisin. That is The City We Became. I've had this on my bookshelf for a long time now, guys, and I really just need to get to it, try it out, see what I think. I've been wanting to read more N.K. Jemisin, and I can't wait to get started with it. And then, of course, if I have room at the end of the month, which I'm not sure I will, who knows, I may not even get to those that I just talked about, but if I have room at the end of the month, I've got some elective slots I can fill. So half of the books I read in April were electives. They were just mood reading whims. And so I'm excited to see if I get a chance to do that at the end of May. And then let's talk about what I want to watch in May. And I don't have a lot of plans other than continuing Sherlock Holmes with my daughter. And I'm also hoping to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is the final Guardians movie, at least with these actors. That's my understanding. And I haven't been wowed by a Marvel movie in a while. I still love Marvel movies. I think they're great. They're a lot of fun. But I haven't been absolutely wowed in quite a while. And the first Guardians movie was really good. The second movie was good. So I'm not going in with too high expectations to this movie, but I'm hoping it'll be a winner for me. So I guess we'll see when I get to the theater to see it. And that is the end of my monthly update. Let me know how your reading went in April and what you plan to read in May, and tell me about some of the other things like movies you watched and TV shows. I'd love to hear all about it. That would be awesome. Until next time, guys, please make sure that you read more books, and I'll talk with you soon.